Welcome back. It's time to talk your money, and today we're talking about job security and what to do in the event that you lose your jobs. Perhaps it's a matter of planning. We know that this is a very current issue because a lot of young people have been losing their jobs as company after company just lays off their workers indiscriminately owing to tough economic times, or what some have termed as not very conducive ecosystems to run their businesses. Now, of course, this is a subject that would benefit a lot of us, because while we're working, we need to have a plan so that we can actually have a soft landing in the event this happens, God forbid. And to have that discussion with me is Sheba Njagi, who's a trainer for Centonomy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get into the details of what to do in the event you lose your job or just how you plan for that, let's take a look at the numbers and just figure out how dire that situation is. We have quite a large rate of unemployment in the country, and obviously we have a lot of people who have lost their jobs recently. So let's have those numbers and just see what the situation is in the country right now, and also to remind you of the conversation. You can be a part of the conversation by getting on Twitter and tell us what you think or your experiences. Have you lost a job recently, and what have you done? Of course, how has it hit you? And obviously, I'll be sampling your views as we go through with the discussion. But let's have those graphics and just see how the situation is in the country. Well, as we prepare for those graphics, let's just get into it. and perhaps, have you seen this in your line of work as a trainer for Centonomy?
Yeah.
Have you seen this happening in terms of young people losing jobs?
Yeah, we've seen it a lot.
Yes.
Especially, as you mentioned, there are quite a number of companies who...
sorry to cut you short. And what you're seeing on your screen right now are those facts, job cuts in 2019. Now, we are told that 840,600 jobs were created in the year 2016, while in 2017, we had 909,800 jobs created, while unemployment was at a 9.3%. And just a reminder of a discussion we had yesterday, it was indicated that 6% is the unemployment rate in countries such as the United States. So this is not a problem that is exclusive to Kenya. And then, unfortunately, 2,000 jobs were lost in 2019 since July. Now, this is that uptick that we've been talking about. A lot of companies are just laying off their people. For example, Stanbic Bank had 255 workers laid off. Then we had Telkom having 575 workers laid off. East African Breweries laid off 100 workers, while the East African Portland Cement had 800 workers laid off. Those are quite huge numbers. And of course, these are people who have other people depending on them. So SportPesa, as we've seen in the headlines, due to an unfriendly, what they have termed as an unfriendly business environment, laid off 363 workers, Bet-In 400 workers, and of course Choppy Supermarket did have their own layoffs. And of course there was that trend on Twitter, I lost my job, people giving their experiences of what it means for them to lose this job or this way of earning an income. Now, over to you. What has your experience been in terms of the job losses? Have you experienced this? Have you seen this happening as a reality amongst the people you train?
Yeah. Trixie, it's a reality, and even the figures you've just shared is just a tip of the iceberg. There are very many, even small businesses that are letting people go because of so many different reasons, right? Even small businesses, startups in the tech industry, and we've seen that a lot with our clients, whether they're coming for personal finance training or even for career advancement training. It's a big problem, and it's not only the older people, but it's also the young people. We are seeing young people as young as 24, as 23. Yani you are just starting your career,
their first jobs, and then
you're just starting your career, and then all of a sudden you're told you're gonna be laid off. We're seeing young moms and young dads who've just started families saying their factories are now closed down, and it's a reality that's facing very many people. But one of the things I would like to say is, you know, when such a thing happens, the first thing, it's a psychological and very emotional traumatizing moment because you're thinking, so what's next for me? How am I going to pay my bills? And also there's that feeling of rejection. Even if the business says it's a tough economic time, you're like, why did it have to be
and
me?
especially if some people go to keep their jobs.
Exactly.
And then
why would they stay and then I'm the one who's being left behind? So it's a big deal, but we are very happy and glad to work with people who are going through this moment, because what I believe, and I even saw it on your page one time where you're just saying your current situation doesn't necessarily mean that's how your future is going to be. So what do we do right now so that you're able to sort out what's going on at the moment, and then make sure that the next couple of years you're good to go? Because you're right, we all have to think about this, you and I, anyone who's employed, and even in business, it's not cast in stone that we are here forever.
Absolutely. There's no guarantees in any economic situation. So we need to be thinking ahead. But first of all, before we get to the plans or the stopgaps to getting being on the wrong end of the stick, what are some of the reasons that these young people give for being laid off? Is it laid off? Is it a blanket situation in the economy, or does everyone come with their own reasons?
I think different businesses come with their own reasons. Now, let's not talk about, let's say, disciplinary issues, because now that's completely different and it's a personal thing. But different companies now are either, they're not making money, or the current economic times is difficult, or a legal issue has just come up and it's just not making sense doing business in Kenya. Tech is another thing. Tech and innovation, the disruption in the tech space is also changing a lot of things and has led jobs to be obsolete, and people have to be let go. So there are a couple of things, and it depends from business to business. But one thing that seems to be going, one theme that seems to be going across the board is just tough Kenyan economic times. It's not as easy running a business in Kenya
it was perhaps a few years ago.
As it was perhaps a few years before, and especially now that the SME space is a main space that has very many employees. But because as tougher economic times come and they have to close down or reduce their payroll, people they're
getting chopped off and obviously winding up without jobs. So you train people on how to handle their finances and how to plan. So let's take the situation where a young person, or whatever age anyway, losing your job is losing your job, and probably the stakes are higher for the older guys who have more people depending on them. But then where do you start with this person who just lost their job? That means they do not have a steady income going forward. So how do you even train them on how to handle this, and how would you advise people to cope with this particular situation?
So there are a couple of steps that we recommend in our Career Hub program, and the very first one is, you have to go through the motions. We cannot separate ourselves from what we feel, what we are feeling, the emotional beat. And one thing, as I say, for example, when I'm in pain, I'll feel the pain, but I'll also do my best and make sure that I don't entertain it way too much. So if you've lost a job, or if you're currently in that scenario, I had a friend, we met one time somewhere at Garden City, and he was telling me, our business, something has happened, business stuff, and I don't think I'm going to have my job in the next 6 months. And I asked him, so what's the plan? And he told me, first, I need to calm down. I need to accept that this is what's happening. My colleagues are leaving, and it's possible that I will also leave. So I need to appreciate that this is happening to me. So the first thing I'd encourage someone who's in this situation is, don't blame yourself. As long as it wasn't a disciplinary issue, don't keep on saying, it's your fault, or think so much that it was because of you that's why you lost your job. Sometimes maybe I should have done this. All these things come into your head. And then number two, we need to start creating the game plan. The truth is, the first thing that worries a lot of people is, I used to have a salary. I used to have a wage that was very regular and that was taking care of my expenses.
Bills,
Now you have to start to think, so what do I start doing about this now? And the second thing I tell you is, we need to review your budget.
Yes.
Yeah, because in case you don't have an income immediately,
Right.
in case you didn't have like an emergency fund or some savings somewhere, trust me, you need to look at where your money is going and start to think, where can I start cutting down? Because it's a number one thing or number two thing that's going to start being affected in your life.
Yes.
See, for example, if you used to be someone who, you know, likes eating out a lot, it's possible you may find a way, you know what, I may cut down on that. If you realize that, you know, sometimes realities of seeing where your money goes can happen in such a time.
Actually,
you know, where you realize, Yani, I
going
used to
through
live
it
in this house. How
with
was
the
I?
toothpicking, and you're like, wow, this is the life I was living.
Exactly. So you may consider, in case you see that you are living slightly beyond your means, you may find a way to cut down. I was listening to a gentleman who was just saying, hey, I realized the car I was driving, the fuel I was spending, I needed to break it down. And interestingly now, even in Kenya, we have some interesting transport innovations.
Yes.
So even if you don't like to, even if you like to drive because you didn't like matatus, now we have the swivels, you know, you may kind of cut your transport down. So number two is have a look at where your money is going.
Yes.
Number three, start looking at what do I have right now.
Yeah.
Because someone else saw the value in you, and that's why they hired you.
In the first place.
In the first place. So they were paying you because you are bringing some value on board. So it's time also now to look at yourself and see, what are my abilities, what are my skills, and what can I do with them so that I'm able to create something that can start giving me an income?
Yeah, because you've been fired doesn't mean that you're completely useless. That does not give you entire economic purpose.
Exactly.
You could make something out of
Exactly. And when you take stock of what you have, you can even come up with a short-term plan.
Okay.
Of course, we all want like to have a really great career, or we all want to have a great business. But if it happens right now, it means, I realize that I can write. Okay, maybe like for you, you're a journalist and you have some skills, you know, you can write, you can speak. So maybe now you can put your skills available and you're able to write for some newspapers, some for online blogs. It may not be a lot of money. Do events. It may not be a lot of money, but it can be something that can work for you. If you've been taking some good photos with even your phone, do you know something interesting? One of our personal finance clients, actually entrepreneurship clients, is a producer, and he was telling us, people think that to make this event productions, we use really huge cameras like in your studio. And he told us that they did some research and even some lessons somewhere, I think online, and they actually shoot with a phone.
Wow.
So what do you have right now that you can use to actually exchange it for value, that someone can pay for it, at least for the short term?
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. And this would help you, you know, have a short term as you work towards, if you want, getting employed again. I'd imagine.
It could be, you know, we all have like a long-term plan, like our vision with our lives. And so what I'm saying is, what can I do right now that I can use as a pivot to go to the next level? Another thing, Trixie, let's not be afraid to say that, you know, I actually lost my job.
There's the shame that comes with it.
There's a shame and fear that comes with that. And that shame causes people to, you know, hide behind, I'm okay, I'm doing things fine, I'll figure this out. By the way, tell people, speak to the right people and tell them, by the way, this is what happened in my company and I'm currently not in a job. You don't need to keep on using the negative stuff by saying, by the way, these people don't think, you know, this Gava is difficult.
The problem with this country.
The problem with this country, no. You are even, let's say you're in a customer role, customer service role. You're able to say, you know, I used to be in a company that I used to do customer service, and I totally miss being with my clients. I totally miss having a face-to-face with my clients. And in case you hear someone who's, or a business that's looking for a customer service role, please think about me. So share with people.
That openness.
That openness, because if you share with someone and share with someone else, you become top of mind.
Yes.
When an opportunity arises, they think about, oh, she had mentioned something to do with customer service.
Yeah.
So instead of approaching it and talking to people about it like a completely negative thing, tell them what you miss, tell them what you liked,
enjoyed.
tell them what you enjoyed, and tell them what you're looking forward to.
Now, I think that also has to start from a place of accepting that it's not your fault. So when you accept it's not your fault, it just happened, you're just a victim of circumstances, then you can be open to, you know, I mean, or speaking openly about it without being afraid of facing, you know, that problem that you are currently facing. But then a number of things that you're mentioning also can only be possible if you put certain things in place before you are laid off. So should we need to be more forward-thinking? And what are some of the things we need to put in place while we are working, just to make sure that we are safe, you know?
You're right, Yenny. We have to plan for our lives, whether you're working, whether you're actually running a business, because this can happen to anyone. You can be running your own Uber business and then something happens and you can no longer run it anymore. One of the things we talk about in our Career Hub program is, number one, build your transferable skills even while you're still in your job. Don't think because I am happy with what I'm doing right now at Standard Group, or I am happy with what I'm doing at Centonomy, that now I don't need to do much. One of the key things I need to be doing is seeing what are the skills I need to improve on that are needed anywhere if anything happened. Is it building my communication skills? Is it building my writing skills? What are some of those skills that you need to be able to, even negotiation skills? Right now, tell me a role that doesn't need someone who can negotiate
everywhere.
Where each role,
from sales to journalism to whatever.
Every single place. So it's time, wherever you are right now, invest in growing your transferable skills, because you are above and beyond your title. You are above and beyond your current role, and you are more than that. Number two, we also talk about personal branding. What are you doing about yourself to make sure that the market, your friends, the potential employers, potential investors know what you're doing? You know, even if you can't be silent, you know, right now we're in a place where show me your value, I show you mine, and then
you can't be modest about your own value.
Exactly.
And this is something that I find curious, because a lot of people believe that personal branding is limited to maybe us in the media, or maybe if you're doing a business. But I find that, let's take the example of teacher Tabachi. He's a teacher, but he has his own brand right now, and he's known for what he does for his community. So tell me more about the need for every person, regardless of where you are working, whatever industry it is, to have a personal brand. Of what value is that?
Your personal brand gets to share with the rest of the world what you're all about, and not necessarily the private part of things, but what you're good at in terms of your skills, what you stand for in terms of your values, in terms of your ethos. And I like the example you've used about teacher Peter Tabichi. It's not just about the fact that he can teach, but you see he's able to express his thoughts to the people. And every time we are thinking, you know, I want some insights about ABCD, about the education space, we know he's a thought leader. So let's say, for example, you are, let me even use a brand ambassador for a brand in a supermarket. How can you continue building your personal brand? It means you probably like marketing. It means you probably like sales. What are we seeing on your social media, for example? Are you talking about what you're learning about the brands that you're working with? Are you talking about the power of sales in a business, or what drives you, or what you stand for? So it's not, personal branding is really not about the fame. It's about what you stand for. What can you be if you had a chance, if someone gave you a chance to speak about something, or to influence something, or to be a thought leader of something, what could it be? And it doesn't matter how many followers you are. I usually say, because I'm a Christian, if God was okay with 2 or 3 people
being in
gathering, right?
Yeah.
How about if you have 10 followers, 100 followers?
Yeah.
What are you telling them? If they're always just seeing you partying, or they're always just seeing you having birthdays and stuff like that says something about you.
Yeah.
So what message are you sharing with us that's all-rounded, that stands for you?
Yeah.
So at one time, if I'm thinking about X,
Yes.
it's you that comes to mind. So it really matters. Remember that your social media platform, including your WhatsApp stories, it is your platform.
Yes, it is your platform. So it's not a matter of fame or having 300,000 followers or taking up a bill, renting a billboard. It's about social media is free.
It's
and actually they want you on board for their own agenda, but actually you can't take advantage of it for your own agenda. What about your circles and how you relate to people?
Your networking, your social capital, very important.
Yes.
What if I usually do this example in class, where I tell people, one of the assignments is we tell them, go out. You've categorized the different people in your life.
Yes.
There's your family. There's your really close friends. In family, there's nuclear, extended.
Yes.
Then your close friends, then your acquaintances, people you've ever worked for in an internship or a job, and I ask you to go and talk to them and find out, if I was to come and ask them something about you, what would they say? And our clients usually go out and speak to everyone. So tell me, what do you think about me? What do you like about me? What would you like me to improve?
Yes.
And they write down what everybody in all these segments say. And when they come back, I ask them, is there a theme you see across the board? And they're like, wow, these people have never even met, but they agree that, for example, I'm very good at getting people to do something.
Yeah.
They all agree that I am very talkative. They all agree that I am very conservative. What people think and say about you, well, sometimes I say, you have to balance. It does matter. What do they know about you? And depending on what you want to do with your life, how can you improve
Exactly, because sometimes the perception might be skewed and you could tweak some things to improve and get people to know you better, I would imagine. Now that's in terms of perception and getting your word out there, publicity, if you're on a larger scale, but of just getting the world to know and in an easy way without having to interrogate you and bring, fish it out of you. Now in terms of money, a lot of these things that we're talking about cannot be done without money. Because if, God forbid, you lose your job, you'd have to think about your daily expenses, your rent if you're not owning a home, or your mortgage, or all those expenses that you deal with on a monthly or yearly basis. So you have to think about that, but also to grow an income-generating activity or whatever. So how can you prepare for that financially so that when you're caught up, you're not trying to juggle everything and basically have no balls even to start with?
I agree.
Yes.
At the moment, this is a call to all of us.
Yes.
Whether you have a job or whether you don't. It's very important we start the discipline or continue the discipline of putting money aside and saving it, especially if you don't have some form of a simple emergency fund. Why do I say simple? I say simple because every time I say emergency fund, people think they need like millions.
My house burns down.
Yeah, in case, and it's something that can happen.
It can happen.
But mainly people usually think, now where do I get money for that? That sounds like a lot of money.
Right.
But I say, start putting aside some money right now in any of those accounts and look at how much you usually spend every month. Whether you have a job or not, there is a monthly expense you usually have. You go calculate it, you may find I spent 50K a month, 10K a month, X amount every month.
Right.
And I challenge you to start, like now this is the best time to start preparing or saving for an emergency fund. Let's say, for example, I realize every month I have to spend 30K. Yani, that's my total monthly expense. So if you're slowly building your emergency fund, it's good that somewhere in an account, whether it's in a money market fund or one of these saving options we have on our phones that are giving a good interest rate, you have about 90K.
Okay.
What I mean is at least three times what you currently spend.
Yes. Or
not
what
even
you
make.
need to what you need to spend.
what you spend, so that in case anything happens, you're able to almost survive. But remember, you'll try to reduce the expenses. You'll be able to survive at least for about 3 months.
Nice.
So now you start working backwards and start saying, hey, if I need a minimum of 90K for my emergency fund, what do I need to start doing now?
Nice.
In fact, you start thinking, let me calculate it. 90K divide by 90 days.
Okay.
Yeah, because those are 90 days.
Yes.
So you realize I need 10K per day.
Wow.
Where do I get 10K
How do I
per
make
day?
this happen?
Yeah. You start getting, because now you're working with a goal and with a purpose, you start thinking, coming up with even interesting ideas on how to raise that.
So we cannot finish this conversation today. Very interesting, very valuable. I hope you got as much as you can from out of this conversation. Thank you so much, Sheben Jage, who's a trainer with Centonomy. Of course, I hope we can take this up and finish it up because time is limited. So we take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more for you right here on Morning Express. Do not go too far.